Oh, great. YouTube is up. Thank you, Karen. I'll give it a few more seconds and then we'll get started. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. This is our first commission meeting of the new term of the 2025 to 2027 term. You're probably seeing a number of new faces on your screen, and we will get to those very brief introductions and we go under the roll call. But thank you again for joining us, and I call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Fay,
I am here representing LaDroit Park. Boundaries are 2nd Street to the east, Boar Street to the west, W Street to the north, and Rhode Island and Florida to the south.
thank you. Commissioner Barrio,
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Francois Barrio. I am representing 1B02, and the boundaries of my district are Wiltberger Streets to the east, S Street to the south, 12th and 11th Street to the west, and then V Street to the north.
Commissioner Sycamore,
Present. Hello, everyone. I'm Commissioner Sycamore. I have the Cardozo area, so that more or less is W Street to the south, Euclid and Clifton up on the north, and then Sherman Avenue on the east, and all the way to 14th Street on the west. Thank you.
thank you. Commissioner Lemon Strauss,
Present. Good to see everyone. 1B04 is between V and W, generally 9th to 14th, with a little bit of extra space, picking up an extra block between W and Florida, 13th, 14th, and then picking up the developments on the other side of up to 9th, expanding a little bit between Florida and 9th.
thank you. Commissioner Kensick,
Present, 1B05, we are 14th to 17th Street, basically it's north of New Hampshire to Belmont, Florida. Yeah, underneath the best park in the city, Meridian Hill. That's really the area. Thank you.
stole my thunder. I'm so mad. I am present.
Sorry.
Commissioner Trindade Duramo, 1B06. That's Belmont, Chapin, Clifton, and University Place between 14th and 15th. And of course, Meridian Hill, Malcolm X Park, the finest 12 acres in town. Commissioner Holden.
President, 1B07, 14th and U over to Florida and U, and then up to V Street.
Thank you. Commissioner Harris.
Present, 1B08. So it's part of U Street, borders Ward 2, similar to Commissioner Holden, down to S. So it's the east side of 14th, the north side of S to a little sliver of 11th, and then up to V, the south side of V.
Thank you. And Commissioner Hanrahan.
Present. Good evening, everyone. I'm representing SMD 1B09, going from Sherman to University Place and the area of the ANC that is the tip of Columbia Heights up on the hill.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. With 9 of 9 commissioners present, we have quorum.
Thank you. And thank you to the new and returning commissioners for giving a quick breakdown of your boundaries. I think that was helpful for some of our community members here. Community members, it's the same format of our email addresses. If you need to reach out to anyone, it's just 1B, the SMD number, so 08@anc.dc.gov. We can drop that into the chat if it's helpful, but I think mostly everyone knows. If not, we will drop it in. Okay, Commissioners, you have an agenda before you without objection. Do we approve tonight's agenda? Hearing no objection, tonight's agenda is approved. Commissioners, you have a consent agenda before you. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We can also, I skipped over doing the approving tonight's consent agenda without objection, just to give a little practice there for folks since it's a little bit easier. So, okay. Below we have two committee reports. First is ZPD. I think Commissioner Fay, you have some updates there, but what it is case number 906 Westminster Street Northwest. It was passed. It was recommended that from the ZPD committee that the ANC support this. Commissioner Fay, I don't know if you have anything else to add, or Commissioner Barrio, if you have anything that you want to add since it's in your SMD.
Thank you. The only thing that I would add is that on review of the zoning file, there are two letters of support from the neighbors who are adjoining or adjacent the property in question. There are no letters of opposition. Quick conversation with the prior commissioner for the area generally showed support from the community for the request and for the special exception.
Great, thank you for that.
Do we have the applicant present that needs or wants to make any comments?
Is the applicant present? You can raise your yes. Karen, can you go ahead and promote the person with their hand raised?
Doug Bunch.
Yeah, thank you. Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I'm the owner of 906 Westminster Street Northwest. This is a request for a special exception to build a roof deck, and this roof deck has been approved in all disciplines by the Department of Buildings, with the exception of zoning. And the remaining issue relates to stairs that will be built from the second floor up to the roof. Those stairs will technically cause the property to exceed lot occupancy and increase lot occupancy from 65 to 69%. So this is a very straightforward request for an exception to exceed lot occupancy for the sake of building the access to the roof. And as the commissioners pointed out, the neighbors on either side of 906 Westminster have filed letters of support.
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick question of Mr. Bunch?
Yeah, of course.
And Mr. Bunch, I believe in your statement, your application statement, you had noted that although the addition of the stairs would increase lot occupancy to 69% over the 65%, you were also proposing removing an existing deck in the back, which currently took you to 70%. So you are already in excess of the lot occupancy as it is.
That's correct. Yeah, I purchased this house about a year ago, and when I purchased the house, it was already in excess of the lot occupancy. So we're essentially just shifting lot occupancy from the back deck up to the steps that will give access to the roof.
Great. Thank you for clarifying. I thought that was an important point that you made in your application. I just wanted others to be able to hear that from you.
Thank you.
Do any other commissioners have any questions? Okay. Thank you for joining us, Doug. With that, is there a motion for this item?
I am happy to move. I don't know if I'm going to get the right language, so you can correct me. but I move to support the recommendation of the ZPD as it was presented to the commission.
I'll
I'll
second.
second that.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Sorry.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Committee or Economic Development. So I see that former Commissioner Jones is on. I think they had a rather, I don't know if it was lengthy, but it was a meeting on the Neighborhood Management Authority. I know that David Minnie from Councilmember Nadeau's office joined them. Commissioner Trindade Duramo, I know that you may have spoken with Commissioner Jones a little bit, or maybe I'm misspeaking. But do we want to, how about we go ahead and promote him? And then Commissioner Jones, if you can give, former Commissioner Jones, if you can give a brief update of what was discussed. I don't think there's any action items for us, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure. Thanks, Chair Harris. That's correct. There's no action items at this time. So we spent the first half of a long meeting discussing the Neighborhood Management Authority proposed legislation that Councilmember Nadeau's office is proposing. So what is a Neighborhood Management Authority? A Neighborhood Management Authority, the way that Nadeau's legislation envisions it, is an entity that would coordinate and manage neighborhood problems with its own funding to do that. So in some parts of DC, business improvement districts or community improvement districts serve this purpose. But there's a couple of reasons why this has been difficult. This has been tried, but has failed a couple of times in the U Street area. Some of those reasons are that the large institutional presence, including of DC government, including at the Reeves Center, para-government entities such as the Housing Finance Agency, and large nonprofits, including Howard University and the Howard University Hospital. None of those areas would be eligible to be basically the way a business, let me back up a second, the way a business improvement district funds itself is through essentially a voluntary tax by business owners on themselves. And then that money is used for the benefit of the neighborhood. Since so many of the important stakeholders in our area are not businesses, that's one of the challenges about this. So the other challenge with business improvement district is that because it's the businesses who are taxing themselves, it primarily represents the interests of the business and a lot of business groups. And that's often good. Businesses are an important part of any given neighborhood, but they're not the only part of any given neighborhood. So this is an opportunity to expand the stakeholders and include businesses, neighbors, nonprofit entities, and more. The Councilmember Nadeau's bill envisions starting with 2 neighborhood management authorities, one for Columbia Heights, which is the area would be far outside of the ANC 1B area. So I'll leave that one for now. But the other would be for the U Street area, and that would be called the Duke District. As commissioners and neighbors are probably aware, there is a performance parking area that was instituted, I think, last month it came into effect. And the money for that is already designated to fund neighborhood improvements. So this entity would already have one funding stream already, and it would be open to other funding streams as well. There was a lot of discussion about various parts of the proposal, but 2 ways that the ANC 1B Economic Development Committee saw as important topics for the committee and for ANC 1B as a whole to consider are, first off, how do we want this neighborhood management authority to be managed? That is, who should be on the board of directors? What groups do we want to make sure have representation? And then the other is, what sorts of priorities do we want the neighborhood management authority, if and when it eventually exists. Basically, how do we want them to prioritize different issues? Immediately, one of the first issues that came up is cleanliness, especially in the U Street area. The district does dedicate some resources to cleaning sidewalks and streets, but the resources are not sufficient for the task. And so that was one area that's been a priority. But then I'm sure that there will be other priorities that our neighbors come up with as well. So again, sort of the two steps that the committee saw moving forward were, who do we want to make sure is managing this thing, and what do we want its priorities to be? Like I said, nothing to vote on right now. This is the beginning of a conversation, but because this will impact everybody in our area, I'm sure that the new chair or chairs of the Economic Development Committee will keep everybody up to date on that. And I recommend the commissioners pay attention to this issue.
And Commissioner Jones, first off, thank you for the coming out of temporary retirement to come and present and share this information. It sounds like there is also a degree of urgency for this commission, in the sense that council member and her office are looking to introduce this bill to council in the relatively short term, potentially even before this group reconvenes in February. Can you maybe speak a little bit to the timing? Or I also see that Nicole has indicated that David Benny's on the line, and maybe he can share some of that information as well.
Yeah,
David,
let's
you better
actually,
play.
yeah,
Yes.
let's go ahead and bring David Benny on if I see him. But just want to, yep, there we go. Okay.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hey, Nicole, let me know that this was up in the agenda, so I wanted to hop by in case there were any questions. So yeah, to the question on timing, it is the case that the council member is interested in introducing this likely within the next 1 to 2 weeks. We wanted to make sure we had a touch point with all of the ANCs prior to that. That is not, I think, as I guess I can say Tucker now, former commissioner, was saying, not the end of input, but the importance of getting it introduced within a close time frame is that this is an extremely high priority for the council member, having these sort of enhancements to services for the U Street area and for Columbia Heights. It's been a long time priority, and we want to make sure that something of this size and magnitude has enough time sort of in the docket on council so that a hearing can get scheduled and we can do the further engagement and refining it. So I hope that answers that question.
Great. Commissioner Barrio.
Hi, yeah, thank you for joining, David. I was curious whether the current effort, as you understand it, would preclude the future development of a bid if businesses were to want to engage in that. And then I'm not sure if I'm allowed to ask multiple questions. But I was also
There's a
curious.
rule, it's not mine.
You're allowed to ask multiple questions, but keep in mind that it's always a little difficult to answer multiple questions at once. So
Of course. I'll just ask one further question, which is, would the Neighborhood Management Authority be eligible to receive grants and other money from the mayor's office? And I guess, how would that work in terms of the funding streams?
Yeah, both good questions. I think you all should have, or if not, we can send around the slide deck to the presentation that we gave to the committee, which I think can help illuminate some of that. On the question of whether this would, how it would relate to a bid effort, I think it's still an open question. What I will say, and this kind of answers your second question, is that the management authority structure is able to achieve and would have all of the powers commensurate with a bid, actually, and then some, because it is formed as an instrumentality of DC government, without getting all the way deep into the presentation here. But so yes, to your second question, that does mean that it would be able to accept grants and other funding sources like that.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I was asking you if you had any other questions, Commissioner Barrio.
No, I think that makes sense. I am interested in learning more about, how that would affect future bid efforts, but I would like to do some more research and reach out separately, perhaps.
Yeah, it's if you'd like to reach out, happy to talk in some more detail.
Great, thanks.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you so much for coming on, David. For the sake of new commissioners, would you mind giving just kind of a brief overview as to why a bid has not been successful so far, and why we have not been pursuing that more aggressively? I know there are reasons behind that, but I would love to get a refresher and kind of catch up some of the new commissioners,
Sure.
if you could do that. And
Yeah,
also, if you could send the slide deck to all of us, I would love that too. That'd be great.
yes. I'll just make sure we send it around during this meeting if y'all haven't received it yet. Try and give the quick version, but thank you for teeing that up. I mean, I would say that a bid in the U Street area has been pursued quite aggressively several times. I think that, the summary before me it spoke to that a little bit. But we just found, and a lot of this came out of the U Street Safety Initiative process that the council member initiated. A lot of structural barriers that make bid formation harder than it might be elsewhere. To generalize a bit, bids are well suited and I would say easier to establish in like your more traditional commercial downtown area. Now we have some bids like Adams Morgan where it is outside of downtown, more mixed use area. But I think also in the case of U Street, you have on the one hand a lot of large institutions that actually are tax exempt in many cases. Howard being a significant one. And then on the other end, a lot of very small businesses like single proprietors. There's some language barriers, there's some obstacles to organization there. And that's before you even get into the sort of typical politics that comes with, a big petition process and trying to form an entity like that when it's, has to be initiated by the property owners. So those are a couple of reasons. In the past there have been efforts, petitions have gone out. There's been even seed funding for a bid. Multiple different boundaries have been drawn. So it's definitely not for lack of trying. I would say the same is true in Columbia Heights, although the dynamics are a little bit different there. I hope that was sufficient. I got a thumbs up. Great.
Commissioner Fay.
A question to David and then an offer. For also an apology, I did not raise my hand on my first question to former Commissioner Jones, so you can dock me 30 seconds on this one. David, I think that the first question is, as you think about creating this management authority that is essentially kind of created by the council and put on the U Street corridor, what kind of engagement has been done by the council member's office with the business community, and what kind of feedback have you all gotten at this point? That's my first question.
You want me to answer that before you move on? Yeah, so I would say we've been trying to do a lot of focused meetings and conversations. I guess you could say focus groups, as we are trying to refine the text of the legislation itself. I would also say that the U Street initiative that I mentioned, which we had several hundred respondents to surveys that had its own focus group process, a lot of individual meetings, was really the foundation of outreach that led to the work we're doing now. So a lot of it sprung from that outreach. And then I think it's been tremendously helpful here to have smaller conversations with our ANCs, with committees. There's been targeted outreach to partners in the business community in both neighborhoods, again, to refine the proposal and, kind of do a critical gut check on it. And I think from this point, there will be, I think, much more extensive engagement, education, feedback on what we have as a starting point. Some of that comes through formal processes like a council hearing, when one can get scheduled. And then I think it will also be, coming back to the relevant ANCs several more times. But if you have suggestions on either broader public outreach strategies or even just folks we should meet with that you think should be looped into the conversation, then very open to it.
Great. And I think that gets to the offer. And Chair Harris, I don't know who I'm making this offer to, but perhaps my ANC colleagues. But I've read through the draft bill from the council member's office and looked through the presentation that was given to economic development in December. So I'd be very happy if it's helpful to solicit interest from fellow commissioners and maybe get a group together early part of next week for a call, and then try to reconvene with that group with David so that we have an opportunity to give some kind of feedback before things go forward with the council.
That sounds fantastic.
Okay, and great, sounds good. You're receptive, and then maybe as a commission, we can talk about what's the best way to move our discussions forward on it. But happy to help. And there's my 30 seconds that I used up. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, one quick pause. Karen, I don't know, Commissioner Fay, I don't know if you shared your Zoom. Maybe you didn't share your Zoom link. There's someone in the chat in the Q&A named Matt Fay with Anthony's information.
Oh, that's Anthony. Sorry,
Yeah, I'm
Anthony.
assuming it's Anthony. But if you can change it, Anthony, if you can change your name so that we know it's you.
Anthony
Sorry.
lost his link, and I sent him mine from my personal account so that he could get on. So Anthony, you're masquerading as me, but you will get in trouble because I'm not always popular.
Thank you. Sorry, I was messaging Karen at the same time, and then I figured I would just ask out loud. Okay. Commissioner Holden.
Sorry if I missed it. Did we know the potential boundaries of the U Street?
Yeah, good question. And it does seem like you all have access to the presentation in some materials you already have, looks like from the chat. So there's a map in there. The map should look familiar because the starting point are the boundaries for the Greater U Street Performance Parking Zone.
So it's just going to be
yeah.
contiguous
So
with that.
That's a boundary that is already set in statute. And as was mentioned, that is just the first envisioned dedicated revenue source for the management authority. So it stands to reason that the coverage area should extend to where that dedicated funding is coming from. But there are provisions to be able to expand and modify those boundaries.
Okay, so it would stop it. Theoretically, if it's matching the Greater U Street Performance Parking Zone map, it would stop at 17th, run along Florida, and then kind of go as far south as S Street?
Yes.
Over to New Jersey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just kind of sketching that out for people
And
listening.
it does include both sides of boundary streets.
Both sides of boundary streets, interesting. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Of course.
Commissioner Sycamore.
And David, just one more quick comment for you. As far as outreach is concerned, there is something on our agenda about separating out a public engagement committee and our public safety committee. So if and when that comes about, and whoever the chair is for that, I think that would be a great opportunity to really get involved and try to get more eyes on this and get more feedback. and more community engagement that way. So just as a heads up, again, nothing's
Yeah.
done yet, but as soon as if it happens, then hopefully it will, we can roll from there.
Okay, that's great to know, and great idea. Hadn't heard that was happening.
Thank you. I do see one community member in the audience who I believe has a question, probably, or two community members. Karen, can you go ahead and promote Miss Arlene Fiskanich?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I also had a question. I just wanted to follow up with a question about the boundaries. I'm looking at the Greater U Street Performance map, parking zone map, and it looks like from 14th Street to 17th Street along U, the south side of U Street is not included in this proposed NMA. Is that correct? Is that because it's being limited to Ward 1?
No, so I don't know if you caught me a moment ago, but the boundaries in the service area includes both sides of all of the boundary streets, so it doesn't omit the south side of U.
Yeah, both sides of the street, but on the north side of U, it extends north, for 2 blocks from U Street, and south it just stops at U Street. So I was just curious as to why it was limited there and didn't extend a couple of blocks south of U Street between 14th and 17th.
Yeah, I think that's something that's worth discussing further as the legislation moves forward. As I mentioned, we felt that starting with a coherent boundary that's already been set in law was a good starting point for this, rather than trying to come up with something brand new off the bat. I think I was involved with the redistricting effort a couple years ago, and I think the particular boundary you're talking about was a much discussed one of where the line falls between, say, the U Street area and DuPont. And so, I think there's been a lot of discussion on that, and I think it's worth talking about, how neighborhood services overlap, or how we can make sure that the boundaries here are logical. But we're starting with the zone as it was established.
Okay, so it wasn't because of Ward 1, you wanted to limit it just to Ward 1? Because I think Ward 1 ends at U Street between that 14th and 17th Street area, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, but it wasn't because of Ward 1, it was just because of this parking zone thing?
Yes, I suppose you can say that.
All right, yeah, I think it does make more logical sense to extend southward in that area, but okay, as long as that will be discussed and
Councilmember Nadeau sat down with Councilmember Pinto in Ward 2 to discuss this. I think there's a shared interest for making sure that this area is well served. So that's something that will continue.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen, can you go ahead and promote Jean Hamza?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, Karen, you might have to flip that. I think you accidentally, there we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jean Hamza, and I'm the community liaison for IMP, which is Lincoln Theater, 930 Club, Atlantis. So I wanted to just mention a couple of things because I've been in the community for a long time, and I've seen the bid efforts, and I'm also involved in Councilmember Nadeau's effort because the Lincoln Theater is one of the government properties owned that would be managed or overseen by this entity, this management entity. So first of all, what I'd like to say about both the bid and the management entity efforts, there has been absolutely almost zero outreach to businesses in general. There's been some targeted outreach, obviously me because of Lincoln and whatnot, and then the bid effort. But the smaller businesses along U Street have not been reached out to by either one. So and I would like to say, because I was involved in both previous bid efforts that I'm aware of, that the difference with this bid effort is that all the Howard properties are being sold between Georgia and 9th Street, and that development is the impetus for the bid effort and is coming from those developers. So that's totally different because in the previous bid efforts, those were Howard University properties that were not allowed to be included into the bid. So I wanted to make that clear. And then I would like to just also point out that with the management entity that, and I would appreciate if David would correct me or elaborate further, that this is going to be a board appointed, sorry, I want to take a few more seconds. This is a board that'll be appointed by the mayor. And so that's, to me, right there, a little sketchy. I mean, it's one thing if it's the council member, which I don't think that can happen, but the mayor, how involved is the mayor in our community? Then secondly, and then who is the mayor? That's another thing. Then secondly, they hire a director. And this is what played out with the Lincoln and the Howard theaters before things changed and they decided to put out a request for proposals and find people to come in and operate them. And it cost us taxpayers an immense amount of money. So that, and the other thing is that this director and the board can raise taxes where they see a need, and that's not just on businesses. I believe that would also could happen to residents. So if David could speak to that, I'd appreciate it, and thank you for the time.
Thanks, Gene. So just a couple of things to clarify there. It is correct that as a sort of quasi-governmental entity, there would need to be an appointed and confirmed board of directors here. That does not all need to be appointments made by the mayor, and as we have it currently constructed, they're not. Council does make appointments all the time. We currently have provision for there to be a rotating ANC representative, whether that's a commissioner or someone the commission nominates themselves. We're leaving open. And then there are several mostly non-voting members that are ex officio, or they're, on the board because of positions they hold elsewhere, on Main Street, for example. So, I definitely share the concern you expressed there. There are certain limitations to how many board positions or appointments on a body can be made by someone other than the mayor. That's just based in the Home Rule Act. Don't have the citation, but I could find it. But we do want to make sure that we are diversifying the board here, both in who is being represented and also who's making decisions on those appointments. So I do think you highlighted an important area of concern that we share. To your second point, while it is feasible and would be allowed for there to be any, like a new tax levy to fund an authority like this, the authority board itself does not have that taxing power. That is still something that would need to be approved by council and passed into law, like any other tax increase. So that's not how it would be structured. Whether or not a funding source like that would be a part of this, I think would of course need to be a much more extensive input process. And there are other options before we even need to get to that. And then I think finally, I'm glad you talked about the need for connecting with the smaller businesses on the corridor. I think that is really critical. And I'm actually thinking about Commissioner Sycamore's suggestion earlier. I think this is something where partnering with the ANC and having some extra resources and person hours and attention on doing that, and actually making those in-person connections is going to be really important, and is work I'm excited to do moving forward. So thank you. I hope that got to everything.
Great. And we do have a question in the Q&A. Do we have an idea of an estimated yearly budget for this entity?
Good question. I don't know if it's a rule of thumb exactly, but typically for a new business improvement district, it is recommended that you aim for a budget of about $1 million a year. So that is a benchmark we are also using here. It remains to be seen how much excess meter revenue is going to be coming in now that the performance parking zone is launched. But that will be a helpful benchmark as well. I can say, without spiraling into a bunch more detail, but one example that we looked at as we were doing research on this is the urban partnership in Bethesda and the urban districts in Montgomery County more broadly, which are also parking benefit districts that are in part funded by garage and meter revenue. And I was actually somewhat surprised in their case. I want to say it's about 40%, almost close to half of their operating budget actually does come from parking. And that is in a place where they are not charging all that much for parking. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, to go back to the answer to the question, looking at about $1 million is a starting point.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us and answering everyone's questions, David. And thank you, former Commissioner Jones, for also joining us this evening. Really appreciate y'all's time and continuing to keep us updated on something important like this that I think a lot of community members want to know more about.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Harris. Happy to be here, and it looks like we'll be circling back and talking next week as you all reconvene.
Great. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. Next, we are on to our administrative portion of the meeting, election of executive officers. So how this will go, commissioners, is first we will go through chairperson. We will accept any nominations, and then if anyone wants to say anything, they can certainly say something. And then we'll just go by kind of a vote per nominee if there are multiple nominees for each role. So first, for chairperson, are there any nominees? Commissioner Sycamore.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Trinidadi DeRamo for chair.
Commissioner Trinidadi DeRamo, do you accept the nomination?
I do. Thank you, Commissioner.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, that means Commissioner Trinidadi DeRamo, now Chair Trinidadi DeRamo, has been elected. Congratulations. And I will kick it over to you to take over the rest of the elections.
Unorthodox. That's not supposed to happen until after the meeting. But if you want to take a rest, you
Oh
more than
no,
deserve it.
you're up. You're up. You're the new chairperson, man.
Oh no, I can't do the timer. Then you're doing the timer.
The new secretary will do the timer.
Oh shoot,
I
that's
mean, we
elected
might
right
still
away.
need your help to do the timer, honestly.
Sure. Why don't you carry on through the
Okay. I'm sure everyone will enjoy that. Okay. I will carry on, and then Commissioner slash Chair Trindade Duramo, if you want to take over at any point, please just give me a shout. Okay, next we have Vice Chairperson. Are there any nominations?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Harris.
I second that.
I accept the nomination. Are there any further nominations? Okay, with that, I am Vice Chair. Thank you. Okay, next we have Secretary. Are there any nominations for Secretary?
I would like to nominate my fellow Matthew, Matt Fay, Commissioner Matt Fay, as the secretary.
Commissioner Fay, do you accept the nomination?
I accept.
Are there any further nominations? Hearing none? Congrats, Commissioner Fay.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Treasurer. Last but certainly not least, it is a very important role for the commission.
I nominate Commissioner Lemon Strauss.
Commissioner Lemon Strauss, do you accept?
Yes.
Great. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none? Congratulations, Commissioner Lemon Strauss. Thank you for taking on another thankless role. It is very important. I think, as many of the returning commissioners would echo, ANC 1B, we serve a lot of constituents. We also have been frugal with our money, but not on purpose. We have really tried to spend it, and we're still going to continue to spend it down, but we do have a lot. So you need to keep us on track and make sure that we can spend this money on our community.
Excited to do it with you all and the full community support. Thank
you. Okay, well, congratulations, the new executive officers. We will update that on the website. If any commissioners have questions, please reach out to any of the new executive members or even past ones, and we can help answer those. Okay, second is applications for committee chairs. So this is somewhat new for ANC 1B. We did institute this process last year. And we are now opening the application process for committee chairs. There are, okay, I'm just going to list the committees. And please all correct me if I'm forgetting the exact acronym, because I know we have changed those. So first we have ABCR, which is alcohol, beverage, cannabis regulation. And then we have, I'm trying to go alphabetically. I know there is a resolution to split public safety and community engagement, and I would imagine we would get that through. I think it makes a lot of sense. So alphabetically, that is community engagement next. After that, wait, I hope I'm not forgetting one. Oh, no, I'm not. Economic development. And then an economic development, I think the other two, they're pretty self-explanatory. Community engagement is going to, if we pass the resolution, is going to handle a lot more of the community work. So things like cleanups, things like, potentially talking about the neighborhood management authority, which would also potentially fall under economic development. Economic development is handling more of the public space projects that have kind of huge economic development ramifications. So those handled things like the Reeve Center, the upcoming probably disposition process, and no one quote me, I don't know when this is happening. So I know it's a very sometimes inflammatory area, but 1617 U Street, economic development will handle that. Next on our committee list is public safety. Again, self-explanatory. After that is transportation. It's TPPS. Yeah, I don't know what that stands for. It's transportation and public space. Someone correct me.
And parks and parks.
Parks. No, but park is a public space, but parks. Thank you. And then we have ZPD, so zoning preservation and development, which does have some crossover with economic development, but that is more private, smaller development. Again, I think there are some crossovers with all of our committees, which I think is a very good thing, but there are established kind of swim lanes for all of it. So commissioners and community members, if you are interested in chairing any of these committees, please submit an application. And the executive committee will review that. We will also widely discuss these applications and potential chairs. We're not trying to make the process secretive, but we will elect those committee chairs at our next meeting on February 6th. Commissioner/Chair Trindade Duramo.
Just to point out and also thank Karen, our admin consultant, who has gone through and created or recreated the questionnaires. So if you are interested in applying for committee chairship, the forms will be live on our website sometime after the meeting tonight, and they'll be open for a 2-week period. And thank you, Karen, for your work in doing that. I don't know if, Karen, is there anything that you want to add about that? There's it's a pretty straightforward SharePoint form. Was there anything I was supposed to mention?
Nope, nothing to add. Thanks for sharing.
Okay.
What I think
Thank
we
you so
should
much.
also do is, sorry, I saw your hand, and Commissioner Holden, I did see your hand too. What we should also do is make sure, I don't know if you already said this, but to send it out in our newsletter. And we'll post it on social media as well. If any community members or commissioners have questions, please ask any of the returning commissioners or even new ones. I don't want to say we know everything, but we've had some experience with this. And I have spoken with several new commissioners who are interested in certain ones. So please tell your colleagues if you are interested in those as well, submitting the application. Commissioner Sycamore.
Yes, and for the community members, if you are not interested in sharing anything, we can use you and your expertise in being on the committee in general. We would love to have you if there's something that you're really interested or you're really passionate about. Please take a look at all the descriptions. Chair Harris did it, former Chair Harris now, Vice Chair Harris did a great job at describing each one. So please go ahead, reach out to any one of us. We're happy to help you and guide you through that. We need your involvement. We are nothing without you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that, Commissioner Sycamore. That is a really good point. We do need active members in our committees. So if you're interested in joining that, please reach out. You can submit an application, or you can also just join the meetings. We are the committee chairs. We'll also be appointing vice chairs for those committees. So if you are interested in that, I would also say reach out to your commissioner, or reach out to any community members who may be a part of those committees, because we do need that support as well. Hold on one second. I see some questions in the chat. Does committee membership carry over to the new term? Yes. No, it does not. Sorry. No, it does not. And then do folks in the committee. So if you just want to be a committee member, you don't have to. I don't believe we have an application process for that. We do have an application process for that. Okay, sorry. This is my third term, but again, this is a newer process. We do have an application, so yes, we will make sure we get that. I promise it's not complicated. It is probably a simple questionnaire, just so it's also for, I think, organizational purposes. We've gotten some feedback that community members, one, want to be recognized, and we want to recognize that you are a part of the committee. And then two, for transparency purposes, if people have questions for those committee members, that people can seek them out. So we will publicize that or publish that. So that's why we do have that. I'm envisioning the application and yes, to just help organize. There we go. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, Commissioner Holden?
Yeah, so 2 weeks for the chairs, and we'll do that application. We'll send out like tonight or tomorrow, and it'll be on the website. But then for the committee members, is that people are applying kind of at the same time, and then we figure that out in February, or can we kind of just sketch that out a little?
I think we can, I'm thinking this is a fairly open process. I think the chair process is probably, it's a little bit more formalized for the committee membership. We'll have the application open, but I think I have full trust in the people who are elected as the chairs of the committee, whether they're a commissioner or a community member, that they should be able to see the applications for those. So I think we should keep that maybe a little bit more open. Also because we do need more community members as committee members on these committees. So I don't want it to be a restrictive process.
Great.
I'm seeing heads nod, so it seems like we're in agreement. Commissioner Kinsick.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, I do think that one of the issues we should just keep in mind is that some people don't have access to computers. Some people don't like to use computers. Some people just old fashioned. So I think that we should keep that in mind as well, in terms of maybe some of the outreach or with some of the new people that are working with us to allow people that maybe not be able to get on a computer or have internet service or whatever it may be, to be able to still have the same right to access and be part of this. So just something that we should think about. Thank you.
I think that's a fair point. I think though, we will need to think through that a little bit logistically of if we print out the applications. We have a PO box that Commissioner Lemon-Strauss, we just need to make sure with former Commissioner Lakatos that that is still up and running and that is paid for. That is in our budget that we voted on. So we can certainly accept mailed applications. I think we had that last year. We will just need to make sure that the person who is applying that we need to figure out a means because we do host a lot of the committee meetings virtually. So we'll just need to figure out how we can best support that with whether it's ANC equipment or what. But I know that I hear what you're saying. It can be limiting. It could also be limiting on the other side with community members who are very used to and can access things virtually. So we'll try to establish that balance and we'll try to figure out one, we'll publicize the PO box and if we need to print it out, we can certainly print it out and give it to the community member who wants to apply. And then they can mail it to our PO box or we can collect it as well from them. So if you know of anyone or any other commissioners who know that, let's just, if you can flag it for the new executive officers, and then we can go from there. Are there any other questions? Okay. Next, schedule meeting times for 2025, Commissioner Trindade-Duramo and Commissioner Fay.
Thank you, Madam Chair Pro Tem. There is a one-page resolution I'm happy to present on behalf of myself and Secretary Fay. It's page 33 in the agenda packet. One of the references in there is wrong. Sorry, failed as secretary, stumbled at the finish line. But page 33 of the PDF, you'll find a draft resolution specifying the meeting dates for the commission for the year ahead. We worked with also with Karen to make sure we're avoiding any major holidays or days adjacent to holidays. So for most of the year, we will stick with our traditional first Thursday of the month, except for July and October when we would meet on the second Thursday of the month. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. If anyone has any questions, happy to take them.
Yeah, would you mind, or Karen, if you can put it up on the screen just so we can see the dates really quickly?
I can, if you can give me sharing rights, I can do it.
Karen, can you click the little caret under share and give panelist?
Oh, got it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I realize it's in the packet, but it's just easier to have it open.
Yeah. Does this work?
Can you zoom in a little bit? Plus sign up at the top bar. There we go. Thank you. Okay. What's the holiday in October?
Yom Kippur
Oh, okay. Thank you.
would be the first Thursday, and so we proposed moving it to the second, and then the first week in July would have been the eve of 4th of July, and we didn't want to interfere with people's holidays.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for that. I just wanted to check in. Okay. I mean, I think this all makes sense. Are there any other questions from commissioners on this? Okay, do we have a motion to approve our schedule? And then we will need to, sorry, is there a motion? Sorry. Is
I move to adopt the resolution as presented.
there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Yep.
Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Is there a question? Commissioner Hanrahan?
Yeah, I think I saw on one of the invites that there were like a couple of meetings that were slated for 6:30. Is the time also to be 7 p.m. For all the meetings, or was there a time change for a couple of the meetings?
Yeah, so we typically have our info session at 6:30. This was because y'all were new and we wanted to make sure we had plenty of time to kind of run the meeting. Also, it's a little hard to secure an info session speaker at the start of the year, but typically we have an info session speaker at 6:30. That's the informal start. And then the formal start to our meeting is at 7 p.m. So moving forward, the meetings will start at 6:30. If you are able to attend, which I strongly recommend all of the commissioners to attend, because sometimes we have agency heads or the council member or sometimes at-large council members speak, and it's a good time to ask questions. Same for community members. So not a requirement, not the official legal start time, but a good entry point to our commission meeting. Okay, and Secretary Fay and Chair Trindade Duramo, just make sure this gets to OANC because it is our legal requirement to have at least 9 meetings out of the year. Okie doke. Also keep in mind, commissioners, if we need to change a meeting, we just have to vote on it at the commission meeting. So these dates are not set in stone. We just need to make sure we have it scheduled out. So if something comes up, we need a special meeting, whatever it is, we can vote on that at the prior commission meeting. And then we just need to give proper notice a week prior to let everyone know that this meeting is happening. Okay. Amendments to SOPs. Commissioner Trindade Duramo.
Thank you again, Madam Chair Pro Tem. Returning to the agenda packet, and I will share my screen in a moment. This is on page 34. As Commissioner Sycamore alluded to earlier, here it comes. I promise. There we go. As Commissioner Sycamore alluded to earlier, we are running with an idea from Commissioner Kensick and Commissioner Sycamore to divide the existing Committee on Public Safety and Community Engagement into two committees, one on public safety, one on community engagement. This resolution lays that out. Not a lot of new content. I've proposed that we just split the existing duties of the committee. Obviously, everything that's sort of MPD facing will go to the Committee on Public Safety. And this is all these clauses there. And everything that was community engagement facing goes to that new committee. I did take the liberty to add one new section, which is this one, 2.5.6.2, which just clarifies that the new Committee on Community Engagement will be responsible for assisting the executive committee, which has the authority or the responsibility of publicizing opportunities to join committees, as you've just heard a few minutes ago, and to work throughout the year to recruit community members to join our committees, which is, I believe, a shared goal of everyone here. Some of our committees have been a little bit low in their membership numbers recently, so I really would love to boost the membership of all the committees. I believe that's a standing obligation. It's not only something for the beginning of the term, but truly an obligation on all of us throughout the year. So I would love the Community Engagement Committee to take on that responsibility. Excuse me. Aside from the SOP changes, afterward in this resolution, I do also ask that the new executive committee include the new chairperson of the Committee on Community Engagement in the application process that you've heard about before, just to be clear, and then also to direct the new Committee on Community Engagement right away to work with the new treasurer to develop new initiatives and guidelines for spending our rather large budget more effectively on community grants and other efforts to expand community awareness of the Commission and what we do and how the community can contribute, and to provide a report on all of that at our March meeting.
Okay, I think I'm the only one with a question for now. I think for the community, I think this all makes sense and something I certainly support. I have a question though, and maybe in addition to the advisement on, I guess, community grants and things. So I think what we may need to add is, and I don't know if we need to add it, maybe it's just an awareness piece. And I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. We have to understand, and I know Commissioner Kinsick has, requested this, and maybe it's something that the new community engagement chair can do, is we really need to understand what the OANC guidelines are for community grants and things, because that has been a limitation for us in the past of spending our money down. It hasn't been because we don't want to spend it. It just is because they don't approve some of the costs, so then we don't get reimbursed, which isn't that big of a deal for us, considering how much budget we have. But in order for us to be in compliance, it is a big deal. So I would strongly urge, and maybe this is just me saying it out loud, I don't know if it's a required addition, that the new community engagement chair, whoever that is, really try to work with the OANC of figuring out exactly, like, bullet by bullet, this is what we can spend money on, this is how we set up a grant, so then we can definitely spend down our surplus. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be an addition as I'm saying that out loud. So.
There wasn't a question there, but I would say that's certainly why I included the instruction to collaborate with the treasurer, who in theory and hopefully in practice is the repository of all of that knowledge about what the OANC guidelines are, which, some are written and some are not. So that's part of the treasurer's learning curve.
Yeah.
Not much of a repository right now, just to be clear, but but to the point of the learning curve, we'll march up it.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lemontrotz, let us know too, how we can help connect and try to really press on OANC to figure out what those guidelines are. Because again, I think it changes a lot. So
Yeah, we're aligned. Just to be, and sorry, Matt, your hands up, but I think we're sort of all very well aligned on the what we want to accomplish here. So I'll get up to speed quick enough to try to help execute. I'm meeting with Santiago on Saturday, and we're going to go through sort of everything. So that'll hopefully march me up the learning curve.
great. I think there's also, sorry, my last thing, and then Commissioner Fay, I will get to you. Their OANC typically does do a treasurer's training, and this might be beneficial. I'm just saying this out loud for the chair of community engagement to also attend, because community engagement will be hopefully issuing the grants that we can issue. So whenever that happens, I'm sure we'll share it out. But that's something to just put on your radar, Commissioner Lerman-Strauss. Sorry, Commissioner Fay. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. These are all important discussions. I don't know if this is a point of clarification or whether a actual modification needs to be made, kind of written into the language. But I guess my interpretation as I read it, just on face value, is that the chair and the treasurer will create a plan, they will present it, and then they will implement it. I think there needs to be a formal step whereby the commission approves said plan. And so I don't know, again, if that's something we need to clarify just as a process, or whether you actually want to write that into the language that, once they create the plan, it is presented for, approval, because I suspect that this group is going to want to be able to have some say on, where and how those dollars are spent. And, to maybe show part of my hand, I would love to be able to spend some of the dollars and see kind of how they perform before we commit to spending all of the dollars, and then not have a chance to learn. So again, I think it could be a kind of a generally stated agreement, but I just want to make sure that that's kind of the principle we're headed toward.
So anytime we spend or have a chance or want to spend money, we always have to vote on it as a commission. So
Okay.
that it won't just fly. It's typically the only times we don't vote is if we've already voted on a budget and those items are underneath of the budget, which is again already voted on and discussed at the commission meeting. But I totally hear you, and you're speaking my language of, I'm not saying, oh, let's spend all of this like six figures on everything in 1 month. We wouldn't do that. I don't think we even can. But yeah, we have to vote on everything that we're spending money on if it's not in the budget already.
Great. That helps. Thank you.
And typically, even if it's in the budget, we still raise it at the commission meeting of saying, hey, this money has been allocated, but we're spending this. And it'll be in the financial reports as well. Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I did bring this up in an email about social media, whoever the chairperson is for the community engagement. And I think now Chair Trinidadi DeRamo brought up a great point that, it is under the purview of our consultants. But is there a way, or do you think there should be added language that, because I guess in how I envision or how I hear what community engagement will be doing is kind of becoming the PR of the commission. Do you think it would be behoove us to have some language in there to talk about, maybe providing guidance or something related to social media, whoever is in charge of that? Do you think that would be beneficial? I don't know. I guess I'm not quite sure if I'm being clear on this.
Yeah, I assume that's a question to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my position was that that's a task that we have specifically designated for a hireable position, and we're about to engage in a hiring process, and it's a big part of that position. So, I wanted to remain there. The way that the structure we have with the two consultants is that they divvy up committee responsibilities, and I mean, it would only make sense for the outreach consultant to be assigned to the community engagement committee, given the overlap in substantive coverage there. So I think naturally those two things will go hand in hand, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I didn't want to sort of assign that responsibility to two people and then not be clear, whose job it really is, or the line of command not be very clear. So I really would love that to live with the consultant as part of their paid duties.
I guess maybe what I'm thinking of is whose oversight, I guess that would be under. Like, would that be under the executive committee? Would that be under the community engagement? Is that okay? So if there's anything that needed to be promoted from, say, community engagement perspective, it would have to go through both the executive committee and then down to the consultant.
No,
is that how that would work?
No, because in the consultant's contracts, there is specific language about supporting committee chairs. So there can be a committee chair to consultant relationship that doesn't have to like go every single day through the executive committee. It's just that the executive committee is like the manager, right, in like an HR sense of the consultant in terms of performance and all that kind of stuff.
Got it. And one last question. What about physical outreach? So like say for flyers or anything like that, would that also kind of go through the same process?
Yeah, as it's written, that's also written into the outreach consultant's contract. So yeah.
Okay, just wanted to be clear on it. Thank you so much. I appreciate the clarification.
Commissioner Holden.
Kind of like how, since this is a new committee, maybe we're still figuring out how it would work, but like in the same way that any of the other committees would have a committee report and then actions from that committee would have to be voted on by the full commission, this would still work in that way, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Sorry, personality drama.
Yep, that's completely correct. In the next resolution, I'm going to present about the committee of the whole. That's where I have suggested that the consultants themselves give their monthly reports instead of at this meeting. But yeah, I mean, we could change that, A, and then B, yes, the community engagement committee would also be giving a report. And I guess, I assume there'd be a lot of overlap between the committee and the consultants' work.
Yeah, so if like the community engagement committee wanted to go on a big promotional campaign or something, PR for the ANC or something, like that campaign would be approved by the whole commission. It wouldn't just be the committee deciding to do that.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and Chair Pro Tem Harris, if you want to speak a little bit about how committees don't have executive authority, right? They don't have any authority that doesn't derive from the commission. So, they would need to come to the commission for.
Like Disney World, we could make that exception, but yeah, I mean.
I think
not the governance model we're following, but yeah.
Probably no Disney World trips planned, unless, there's no reason. But no, I think what it would follow is similar, and I think you're familiar with this, Commissioner Holden. So just stop me if I'm rambling, but essentially the committee would say like, oh, we want more promotional like items about our ANC meeting, about our committee meetings, like people need just more awareness about this. So then the committee would vote to recommend that the full ANC support this, especially if it's outside of the budget. So to imagine for any printed items, promotional items, like that does fall under our budget that we vote on each year. So that wouldn't necessarily need to be re-voted on unless it just was a much bigger campaign that fell out of the scope of our budget. So they would vote to recommend, and then that would be in the report that the committee chair would then give. There aren't really any external agencies or things that the I think committee would need to report on. Maybe, that might be an opportunity, whether that's like with Events DC or there are other agencies. But for now, I would envision it's a lot of more like kind of marketing, community outreach, really, I don't mean to repeat, but community engagement front, along with the budgetary items of grants and things that would come in front of the commission that we would vote on. Committee members serve in a very voluntary capacity, which we are immensely appreciative of. they just don't have the I don't even want to say like legal authority to then vote on something. What we vote on as a commission, that is what stands.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, is there a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. Oh, I'm assuming we're going to get to your resolution, Commissioner Trinidad Drum. Is it the same one? Am I missing? Oh, page 38 too. Okay, right? No?
Yes. All right.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I
Page
saw
38
that
of the
line.
PDF.
I know you mentioned another resolution, but I was like, where? I see it.
My final act. Page 38 of the PDF, if you're following along at home. Another resolution that I circulated to commissioners earlier this week. This one is a measure designed to improve the transparency of our operations as a commission. And there's been a frequent gripe, I think, that people are often surprised, commissioners are often surprised by items that come up at our monthly meetings. And as secretary, I've tried to do a better job, and Karen has been a godsend in this respect, to publicize through the newsletter and on the website as early as possible what is moving through the committees. But it's not always possible for everyone to stay on top of that. I recognize that. So a suggestion I have for this commission moving forward is to borrow a practice from the council and from other commissions around the district, which is to do a meeting called the Committee of the Whole, which would essentially be a committee that includes all of the commissioners here, and as well as committee chairs, if they happen to not be commissioners. And this group would meet each month, more than a week in advance of this monthly meeting, just to have a conversation about what is going to be placed on the agenda for the commission's monthly meeting. Just a way for everyone to have cross visibility, what's coming out of committees, what's going to be on the commission agenda in the following week. I think it should be a pretty straightforward meeting. It does have to be an open meeting, of course, that's required by law. And technically, its responsibility would be to advise the chairperson of the commission, who has the responsibility of preparing the agenda for our monthly meetings. That's basically the text of it. And it's basically, as I've said, just a forum for all commissioners and committee chairs to discuss what's bubbling up out of committees, what projects they're working on, what they would like to see on the commission's agenda. Hopefully we can work out, disagreements or clarifications well in advance, so that we spend less time learning and reading for the first time at these monthly meetings, and everyone will have had eyes on all the material in advance. And if there's opportunities for collaboration between committees, or one commissioner wants to offer expertise in a certain area, that can all take place between the committee of the whole meeting and the monthly commission meeting, which I think would help us make these meetings more effective and more efficient. So that is what I propose. Happy to take questions.
I'm gonna, if you don't mind, Commissioner Sycamore, I'm gonna go first just on this to provide any, I think, clarifying points. So I think this is entirely very, very helpful, and something that we did do during my first term. Not very, I think, successfully, but something that I think we should do. And so I'm in full support of this. One thing that to make very clear is that we will not be voting on any items in this meeting. It is not a voting meeting. It is simply a committee of the whole, mostly administrative meeting, to just get also a sense of where people's heads are at, especially on certain items that we need to have a discussion. Hopefully it cuts down the time of our full commission meeting. So then we can just get clarity on what is happening and the things coming before us, so it's never a surprise. And if anything needs to be better organized or we have questions on it, I think that's what it can serve. And just like Commissioner slash Chair Trindade Duramo said, it can help the chair to then figure out, okay, well, what needs to go on the agenda, or what can we actually wait to talk about, or what do we need more information from the committee on. I will also say that most of the discussions still should happen at the committee level. A lot of the committees that are committee members currently serving on the committee who will then need to reapply. I apologize for misspeaking on that earlier. They do have a lot of knowledge on what has been done prior. And so whether they are actual experts in that field or just have been in the neighborhood for a long time and have encountered settlement agreements on liquor licenses, those discussions should absolutely still be held at the committee level. And I strongly urge the commissioners who have things before those committees to try to attend those committees and to raise the questions that your community members have in those committee meetings, and encourage them to also attend those committee meetings. So one more thing, I know I'm out of time. The committee of the whole will absolutely be helpful, but let's not also use it as a part one of rehashing things that we need to rehash. Let's make sure we are really focused even in our committee meetings and bringing up issues there as well. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Sorry. Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So thank you so much, Commissioner Chair Trinidad Duramo. A lot of colleagues in other bodies have asked us why we don't do this, and I think this is a fantastic idea. So really, thank you so much for putting this all together. My one quick question is, since you're bringing up dates as far as when we should be meeting, do you think we should maybe add into that language a certain time frame, or let's say 2 weeks prior to, or is there any language that you think we should do that, or should we be a little bit more flexible on that?
I always like flexibility. It does say right now that it should happen at least 7 days in advance of these monthly meetings, which of course is to comply with the 7-day requirement to publicize the draft agenda. If you know anything about Secretary Fay, it will not surprise you to learn that he's already gone through to figure out if there are any holidays that the 7-day requirement would coincide with. And I think Secretary Fay, remind me, I think we've been eyeing the Tuesday, so 9 days in advance of each meeting.
The Wednesday,
Wednesday
preceding the meeting, the commission meeting, so that it would be 8 days prior, which would allow us to have a day to finalize, prep the agenda, and then send it out within the 7-day requirement.
Correct, and that was also designed to avoid committee meetings, at least if they stay on their previous schedule.
Do you think that would be enough time to do the turnaround if we have to make some serious adjustments to the schedule? You think we might need that day buffer?
With Commissioner Fay as secretary, I have great faith. That's not set in stone. We just floated that because he did the check on the holidays and stuff. But we can take a straw poll after and engage everyone's commitments.
We can also try out the days and see how that works for the first month or so, and then we can kind of figure out from there. But I think keeping it flexible is probably better, just because this is still, it's new for returning commissioners and even newer for new commissioners.
Right. Got it. Thank you so much for that.
Commissioner Barria.
Hi, yeah. I guess what I was curious about is, would there be, how extensive would notes or minutes be on the meeting? And then also I'm curious, Commissioner Harris, why the meeting, I guess, did not work very well in the past during your first term.
So legally, yes, we do have to keep minutes. And so those will be published. I'm sure I feel very confident with Secretary Fay, and also very confident with Karen's support with that. So we'll probably follow a similar format because it has to be public. It just is not going to be a meeting where, we are taking similar like community comments and things. It's simply because we're not voting on anything. It's kind of just a discussion. Not that community members couldn't chime in, but it's kind of more administrative, really, and to try to make sure we're getting a pulse check on certain things that might require a larger discussion at the commission meeting. So yes, the minutes will be taken, all of those will be followed, and then why it didn't work last time. I think it was hard scheduling conflict wise. We all have, one, you're talking about committees, those meetings you're talking about are just the commission meetings themselves, and then our lives. Like I think all of us on here have full-time jobs. So juggling all of that is very difficult. But also we have our personal lives. So I think that's why it didn't work. I think it wasn't because there wasn't a willingness. We also discussed it. We discussed a majority of whatever the issues were at the committee level. And I would say that worked better. And I don't think it's an either or. That just worked out better for everyone's schedule and I think timing. I think committee of the whole meetings would be helpful, but it also panned out okay, having it at the committee level there.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
Hi. Thank you, Vice Chair. Yes, I think my question was just kind of answered in the prior in your answer to Commissioner Francois. But yes, I was reading in the amendment, it says the chair can choose to call a committee of the whole meeting. So would this mean that this is like a this would be automatically called for each month, or it would be kind of on a per basis based on when giving to the chair to call, giving the ability to the chair to call the committee of the whole meeting, or would it be automatically decided that there is one?
Yes, thank you for picking up on that. I didn't want to create an obligation so that if it didn't happen 1 month, right, it would there'd be a tort. Yeah, I think I'm imagining that we'll operate on the assumption that every month there should be a meeting, and then if there's just a very light agenda or something, the group can kind of informally decide to scrap it. There's no, I don't want to create a legal requirement that it must meet every month. Once again, more flexibility, I think, is best, especially as we're trying out something new.
Great. Are there any other questions? All right. Is there a motion?
Move to adopt the resolution as presented.
We have a second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Next, Executive Councilmember, Commissioner, and Community Announcements. Office of the Councilmember, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Good to see all of our returning commissioners and looking forward to working with all of our new commissioners. For those I haven't met yet, my name is Nicole Rivera. I'm Councilmember Nadeau's Chief of Staff, and our office's representative at this meeting. So a couple quick updates. We have just started a new council period. We sent out a progress report on our accomplishments in 2024. If you're on our email list, you should have received it, and all ANC commissioners received it, but I'll drop a link to it in the chat as well for any community members who haven't taken a look at it yet. The council members' goals for this session really fall into a lot of similar categories to much of her work from last council period. So I'd like to just touch on a few of them that are coming up soon for folks to look out for. On the environment, later this month, we are introducing a bottle bill. It'll require a 10-cent deposit on bottles and cans that customers can get back when they return them. 10 states have bills like this: California, Connecticut, Hawaii, uh, Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts, several others. But it's been many years since a new state has kind of been added to this group. So it's a really proven effective in greatly reducing seeing bottles and cans in the waste stream and on the street as litter. And so we're really excited to get that moving. Oh, here's where I would talk about the Neighborhood Management Authority, but thankfully David Many covered that for me. We're going to have several bills on housing coming up in the next month or two, so keep an eye out for that in future meetings. I'll be able to share a little bit more, so I'm looking forward to that. On public safety and road safety, we're introducing two public safety bills that we worked on last council period. One would assist recruiting for MPD. That's our cadet bill that kind of improves our homegrown cadet program. And another to make it give the police more tools to close homicide cases via witness support programs. We're building on our successes with road safety through parking enforcement operations that are under the Committee on Public Works and Operations. We'll be conducting oversight on the implementation of two of the council members' bills that passed the last session. That's our fake tags bill, which allows immediate towing of vehicles with fake license plates, and food delivery. At the very end of the last council period, we passed a bill that creates a mechanism for better traffic enforcement for food delivery drivers via the Department of For-Hire Vehicles. So looking forward to hearing from the agencies that are implementing those on how those are going. I would just flag for folks that performance oversight is going to be upon us before we know it, starting in February. And so for members of the community and commissioners, look forward to folks signing up to testify about all of the agencies that you interact with, good experiences, what's working, bad experiences, what's not working, what needs our attention, what needs to change. Every committee will be holding these hearings coming up. I'll make sure that folks receive the schedule as soon as that's published so you can testify or submit written testimony. Our next Brianne on Your Block, that is our monthly event that folks can come and speak with the council member one-on-one about anything that's on your mind, a constituent services issue, a policy matter. Will be Thursday, January 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. We're still finalizing the location, but it'll be in the Adams Morgan neighborhood. So I'll make sure that folks get that. And then it's also on our website, and we push it out on social media as well and in our newsletter. So if you're not signed up for that, please do, because that's where we publish a lot of information about events and just what's going on at the council. So I'm happy to take any questions.
I'm not seeing any questions. Actually, nope.
So close.
So close. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I got the official hand up. Nicole, this is more of a constituent question, so hopefully I'll keep it quick. My community does have some questions and concerns about a better bus routing. We've raised this to David. He shared with us that the council member was focused on closing out the last term. We appreciated that, but we do want to engage very quickly as we start the new year. Are you the best person to reach out to in terms of that type of question?
I'm happy to receive it, but David Many, honestly, is going to be our best on any transportation issues. I'll drop his email in the chat.
I've got it.
Okay. Is this about the bus through Ledroit?
It is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, David Many would be the best person to touch base with about that.
Okay, great.
But for any new commissioners too, don't feel like you need to know the best person on our team to reach out to about anything. You can always reach out to me. I'll connect you with the best person. And we have two constituent services specialists that actually split 1B, Estelle McKinney and Jerry Clark. They should be reaching out to you soon to set up some meetings if you'd like to touch base with them, but they can be your go-to folks for any constituent services matters. But I can make sure that if I don't have the answer, you get to the right person on our team.
Yeah, I'll second that. She's been absolutely fantastic with everything that I've ever had a question on, and she's always brought me to the right person. So thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Commissioner. I try.
Nicole, I do see one question from a community member.
Sure.
From Angela. I apologize. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I don't want to mess it up. But Karen, can you go ahead and promote this person? Was their hand raised? There we go. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole, you mentioned that something was coming up in February. Can you reiterate that again?
Sure. So the council, beginning in February, conducts our performance oversight hearings. So every committee will host performance oversight hearings for every agency, every executive agency under their purview. So for us, that would be things like DPW. If you have issues with trash collection or anything else under DPW, you could come to that hearing and testify about your experience with that district agency. For us to then, follow up on, we'll be asking lots of questions about the various programs that all of our agencies administer. But it's really important for us during that process to hear from the public about their experiences with agencies, good, bad, and everything in between, to help inform both our oversight role, but also any future kind of legislative endeavors we might take on that would be under those agencies. So all of those hearings, they're being scheduled now. So once they are scheduled, it'll be up on our hearing management system where you can sign up to testify or you can submit written testimony. So I'll make sure that it'll be, all over all of our channels that we push out information. I'll share it in this meeting. I'll share it with commissioners as well. And it's all publicly available online. So really encourage folks to come out and testify.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Thanks, everybody.
Office of the Mayor, Anthony.
Hello, everyone. Hello. How y'all doing? Happy New Year's. It was good to see everyone at the swearing in. So we do have a couple of updates from the mayor's office. As I think I said last meeting, a lot of you are new now, and congratulations. If you have any issues for your SMD or concerns, I would ask you to email me or text it to me, and we'll work on those issues and bring them and next month we can look at where we're at. And last month we worked on a few of them. I was one BO2 with the 7th and T. So right now, the 7th T task force is led by Director Phil Thomas, and we have been working with Ms. Karen, the schools, and a bunch of different agencies to try to address those public safety issues right there, 7th T. Pretty sure y'all familiar with. And this recently with the snow, we Ward 1 Mocha's flagged, I believe, about 60 for 1B as a whole on the streets, and we still, Commissioner Jeremy, we still have that issue with 12th place, I believe, that was flagged to us. I flagged that up.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And we've been working with our partners at DPW and other agencies to address these issues. So I encourage everyone to please reach out to me and let me know what is your concerns for your SMD, and so we can get working on that. And anything else that I can do to help make this a great transition, just reach out, feel free. I believe that is it for them for the mayor's office. Is there any questions?
I'd love to ask a question. I'm curious whether there's been any coordination with the National Park Service for de-icing a lot of their property. Obviously, they're very understaffed, but I've noticed, as many of my constituents and other people in the district, that the parks are not they're not being de-iced. They're not receiving the support that they might need. And then I'm also curious how we could better proactively de-ice or remove snow from pedestrian walkways, especially corners where there's a lot of ice pretty consistently, I think, throughout the commission.
Great questions. Well, for the federal parks and stuff like that, yeah, I can circle back with you and get you a point of contact and
Thanks.
connect you with them. And for the sidewalks, if you flag them, I think that and commissioners and Commissioner Matt can attest to this. If you flag it to me and send me a picture, I will get on top of that. And that's for any these sidewalks, these streets, anything. We have another round of snow coming this weekend. It's not supposed to be as bad, but it's still we have a lot of snow still on the ground. So even a little bit may affect it. So please reach out and I will send as I get the information. I hope did everybody get the email blast I sent out before prior to the storm? If you
Which
did,
one?
oh yeah, I sent out as I was getting them, I was sending them out. But that's one of the things that I want to make sure I do. As I get it, I want to give it to y'all so you can get it to your constituents because everybody y'all represent 2,000 people. So I want to make sure that we're getting the information out so y'all can get it to them. And if you did not get it, please let me know so I can make sure that I can add you to that so you don't miss out. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
I would say Commissioner Barrio to also submit a 311 request that we can then give to you, Anthony. I think that's helpful to have that, but just to make sure that we're kind of blasting through all channels, especially since there's more incoming, hopefully less snow this Saturday. The other thing that I will give a plug for, because I've done it the last 2 years, even though I absolutely hate shoveling snow. I hate it. Like it's my least favorite activity on earth. Um, is there is a volunteer through Serve DC and it is really helpful. You do get a really nice snow shovel that has like a metal end like point. But to volunteer to be a snow hero to help clear off some of the pedestrian walkways, especially for seniors. So they give you a location to get the snow up. It is a really great volunteer opportunity. Again, I've done it twice, even though I hate shoveling snow, but I strongly encourage commissioners or community members to sign up. It's just Serve DC and you can sign up there to be a snow hero, or there's other volunteer opportunities that get sent to you.
Great plug, Commissioner. Yes, serve DC, dc.gov. Yes, please.
Again, you get a nice snow shovel, but
Is there any like salt people that?
Yes. Oh, so
I would wish I could do that.
So so when they do Serve DC does hand out salt, shovels, gloves, all that comes with the package, shirts. They hand out everything and they put you in a location 3 blocks radius so it'd be close and it'd be somewhere that everybody can walk. But yes.
Dang, I didn't get salt when I did it.
You didn't get us salt? We gotta get you some salt.
I don't know if I'm gonna do it again.
You
I've served 2 years.
And we was up in Columbia Heights signing people in for Serve DC about a week ago, but you can go online and if anybody needs that Serve DC, dc.gov, again, you can reach out or you can go online. Yeah.
Commissioner Trindade Drama.
Oh shoot, I was doing something else. Sorry, I was going to mention to Commissioner Barrio that I had a little note from the Rock Creek Superintendency team to say that they will be de-icing Meridian Hill Malcolm X Park tomorrow, which is a bit late, but at least it's happening. And I wanted to pass along the contact of the person to email. I'll put it in the chat. I feel like everyone should just have this poor guy. But seriously, like I'm probably the person that asks him for things related to the park. But I think you should feel free to. He's generally pretty cheerful about it. Aside from ice and snow, I do email him when the trash is overflowing and it seems like they missed a collection one week. So by all means, I say you should go ahead and do the same. I'll drop it in a sec.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I just went for a run there this morning.
Did you fall down?
Only once, but while I was attempting to sled.
As long as you make it to these meetings, we're okay with it.
You know, thankfully this one was virtual.
Thank you for dropping that info into the chat. I think all of us frequent Malcolm X Meridian Hill Park, so it's helpful to have that info. So thank you for that. Are there any other questions for Anthony? All right, and Anthony, we'll make sure to get you your link. Sorry for the confusion. I guess I'm apologizing for myself, or I didn't mean to call you out. I just wanted to make sure
No,
that we knew
no,
it
I'm
was
glad.
you and not another person named Matt Thay.
Yeah, I was gonna be mad for the night, but I'm glad y'all did. Thank you.
Thank
Y'all
you.
have a good night, and I thank everyone
You
for your
too.
service.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Okay.
Thank you, Anthony.
Commissioner announcements. Commissioner Holden.
Hey everyone. So we're not going to get a chance to vote on this, I don't think, because the committees are kind of in flux. But I did have two NOIs for very small scale projects in my SMD. And I just wanted to make people aware of it and anyone in the audience. So there are two projects at 17th and V in Florida and 17th. They're part of DDOT's tactical to permanent project where they take flex posts and other kind of like non-permanent treatments and hardscape them with new curbs and concrete. Looking at the images, I don't think there's any parking reduction or anything because these are already areas where one, there's like a micromobility corral in the street, or there's already no parking signs, or there's the flex posts. But it will require some construction, which might, cause some disruption. For anyone in the public or commissioners, I guess, who want to submit individual comments, the deadline's February 3rd. So we won't really have the committee up again by then, but I just wanted to raise it. They are striping a bike lane on Florida from 17th to 16th Street on the south side. But again, there's no parking there now. So it's just kind of marking it as a bike lane. There's no impacts to parking, but seems like good improvements. I think like the flex posts, a lot of people think are unsightly and get damaged a lot and this and that. So I think if we can find ways to turn them to permanent solutions, it's a improvement. So that's it.
Okay. Just as a FYI too, so this is mostly an area for like any announcements that commissioners have in terms of, and it's totally fine here too. But it's typically an area where like if there's like a cleanup you have in your SMD or any other events or something just like announcement related. There's also another area to bring this up in new business as well. Especially if the commission needed to take action on it. But thank you for letting us all know. I realize it's a bit of a gray area for us as we're still deciding on committee chair, so I appreciate you flagging it for the commission. Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah, this is more just for my fellow commissioners to make sure that your financial disclosures for Vega have been submitted and your ANC financial summary reports have been submitted to OCF. If anyone has any questions, I went through it. I can get you the right people. Just let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, so we do have time for Bega. So
Yep.
that deadline, you have some time. It's just something we all have to fill out. You have a pretty expansive amount of time. Financial statements, you don't have, that's not, it's for your campaign. I think that's what you meant, right, Commissioner Kinsick? Yeah, those are due on, I believe February 7th. That was when the official results were certified. So you need to have that in if you haven't already. And you should have received logins when you submitted your petitions. Sorry. Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Anthony kind of took a lot of my thunder on that about doing the volunteerism and everything, and reporting things, not just for snow, but also for rain and clogged drains, which I do all the time, especially in this area when we get heavy downpours. It's great to report that. And yeah, Commissioner Harris, I can't believe you don't like to shovel. You would never survive where I came from in Buffalo. You would, yeah.
Not even
Anyway.
No, I wouldn't. That's why I don't live in Buffalo.
Right. So just a quick reminder, I've gotten multiple complaints now about muggings that have happened due to the Canada Goose jackets. Just a reminder for everyone to please be aware of your surroundings, and just please keep vigilant on that. That's still going on. It's been a chronic issue for a few years now with the robbings of the Canadian Goose jackets. Also, I am launching kind of my own commissioner Instagram thing as well. So that's just going to be strictly commissioner announcements and things of that nature, and activities there. So if you want to follow me there, it's going to be Commissioner Sycamore at on the Instagram page. And one thing that I would be remiss to say is the incident that happened on December 23rd at 1100 V Street, which is technically not my commission district, but there was a death from a collapsed building. I was made aware of that minutes after it happened, and it was a really awful sight. So I'd like everyone to send their thoughts, their positive vibes to the family of Edgar Cifuentes Lopez, who tragically passed in that situation. And I know it happened in Commissioner Lemon Strauss's slash Lacatos's district, but I just thought that'd be of note that it was a pretty significant event that happened in our commission district. So thank you so much for that, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, and thank you for flagging that. That was really unfortunate that that happened. Okay, Commissioner Trindade Duramo.
Thank you. Sorry to keep the mood a bit low. I did want to mention, as many of you know, on New Year's Eve, excuse me, Zoom is chirping at me. New Year's Eve on Chapin Street in my district, there was a rather devastating fire in a multi-unit apartment building, a condo building, and all of the 20 units have had to be evacuated. And the damage is so intense that the residents of the building are likely to be out of their homes for many months, possibly a year. It's quite a lot of upheaval. Of course, coming on a holiday was just, a double whammy. I asked one of the residents of that building, who's also on the condo board there, Jerry, to attend the meeting tonight. He is in the audience. Jerry, if you can put your hand up, and Karen, if you can promote him, just to say a little bit about what's going on in that community, and an effort that he is very heroically leading, aside from having to relocate himself and deal with all of the after effects of fire and fire retardant and water. An effort that he's leading to rally the community to support the neighbors there. I will also add that my constituents are incredible people, and I had just an inbox full of offers 3 hours after the fire happened from a bunch of neighbors. What can we do? How can we be a support to our community? So, to those of you who are out there, thank you for your generosity. And Jerry, if you'd like to speak just for a little bit about maybe what some of the needs are and what we're asking the community to do, that'd be really great.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Trinidadi Duramo, and then also Ward 1 Mocher, Anthony Robertson. You all have been super helpful in this recovery, restoration. And so I'll try to keep it quick, but along with myself, there's 20 units, residents, a mixture of families. We have 3 families in there. One family had to escape through a ladder with their 2-year-old son. So that just gives you an idea of how hard this is for the past week. And so Okay. So we really need additional assistance with immediate housing, immediate costs for that, transportation. Even today, I was going back and forth between condo and work because I just started a new job, and so trying to balance the time between that. 15 of us are homeowners, and so a lot of us are new homeowners living there for the first time and just trying to balance everything the past week. And then 5 units were tenants, renters, and so 2 of them were actually on the 4th floor, which they've lost everything. And so I'm meeting with the board tomorrow. We're a couple of updates. We're doing a building walkthrough to determine the loss, how long this could potentially take. But with the snow, because of the New Year's holiday, we've only had about like 4 or 5 days of actually getting to the building daily from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it's been really difficult for us to even just manage through returning to work after all of this. And so tomorrow we're going to discuss how we're going to split up the money evenly, but additional costs would go for for renters to right now they have 14 days of lodging, but I'm not sure where that will last. One homeowner is staying in a hotel until they're able to transition to an Airbnb, a long-term lodging. And just like transparently sharing like what the policies are. They range as $12,000 for additional living expenses. And if we're staying there for a year, we know how much rent can cost. And it's hard to do a 1-year lease or I'm not even approved to do a 1-year lease. We can only be approved for month to month or 3 months after some of the insurance adjusters have come through. And so some of the costs that we're seeing is about $2,000 minimum when we're all trying to compete for the same type of housing. And so trying to figure out what does that look like. The first day they were saying $4,000 for a month to month. And my policy is only going to $20,000. That would only give me about 5 months of living expenses. I think the hard thing is that we just don't know how long this will last because the front half of the roof is completely burnt out and gone. And so the permitting, I know Brianna Doe's office is also going to help with expediting permits, but there's that need, transportation of just staying where you're at. Some people are staying out in Virginia trying to get back and forth using Uber or trying to get through transit, renting cars, which some of our insurance policies will cover, but in the immediate need when you're trying to get into your building as quick as possible because the insurance adjuster is able to squeeze you in today, you're going to do whatever you need to do to make sure that you can get that done. And then additional things would be personal belongings, food, replacement of clothing that we've lost during this time. And so before we release the GoFundMe tomorrow, the board is going to just double check to make sure that everything is set. We know how we're going to split up the funds. It may look, I think we're trying to figure out if it's 5,000 or 10,000 per unit. So that might be a lot larger, but I think after we see what the damage is tomorrow, and if we even have like an idea of if it's going to be 4 months, 6 months, or a year, we're just really nervous that our money is not going to last as long. And so we need a little bit of coverage for that. And so even myself, I'm like, thinking about, do I really need this? If I don't, how can I give it to someone who does need it within the building? And so just giving you an idea of how we're trying to be thinking about the money that is fundraised, because this is going to help us out and also sharing with the network and also with the neighborhood. So I'll leave it at that if there's additional questions or even just thoughts, but I'm not sure if Anthony Robertson has like any other updates in terms of the building, but the fire is still under investigation. And so that's also going to hold up some of the pieces to this.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jerry. I just wanted to, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm so sorry that this happened. I think one thing I just want to flag, one, I think we should certainly help individually as commissioners. I don't think as a commission we can do something, but as individual commissioners, we certainly can help and rally behind this. I think it's something that we each can individually share within our networks to help, whether it's the GoFundMe or there's things that individually that we can help purchase. But I'm so sorry this happened. And I know each one of us, and I don't mean to put words in everyone's mouth, but I would imagine that we are in agreement, we want to do whatever we can to support you.
I'll add one other thing in the GoFundMe. I think another big help is if you know people that are willing to do short-term lodging of their apartments because they're not going to be there. That is extremely helpful because right now, even today, I couldn't even find anything that's less than $2,000 to help spread out the costs of potentially of living. So
We can certainly spread the word within our individual districts because at least it's close by. So I think we can definitely really comb our networks and our own individual communities to help with that as well. Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Trindade Drama. I didn't mean to.
No, just wanted to join him in thanking Anthony. I had calls with him on the holiday. It was very helpful. I know he was on site early in the morning as the firefighters were still working. Sent an excellent detailed situation report to me and to other officials, which was very helpful. So thank you, Mr. Robertson, for that. And just again, thank you, Jerry, for not only dealing with your own just complete upheaval and disruption and mess, but also being such a wonderful leader for everyone else in the building and looking after everyone, all your fellow owners and tenants, and you've been on top of everyone, and you know where everybody is and who has housing and where, and you're on top of everyone's situation, which is above and beyond the call of an HOA board, really. So thank you so much for what you're doing for our neighbors.
And please, Jerry, when the link is ready for the GoFundMe, if you can share it with Commissioner Trindade Duramo so we can have that. Also, I don't mean to add to this work, so if it's already there or if there's something that we can assume that you all might need, you listed out some things, please, if you can share that list so then we can potentially give those items your way, and then we'll also comb our networks and our own kind of buildings, or if there's some short-term housing available as well. And if any community members online hear this, relaying that same message to you all too. If you know of anything or if you want to help, we'll try to share out the links and the list of things needed.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Are there any other commissioner announcements? Okay, community announcements. Anthony.
Hello, everyone. First I want to say my heart goes out to the residents at 14th or 47. I do have an announcement I forgot because I wanted to make sure that all these commissioners did everybody get the invite to the call at 6:30 Monday, and that's the inauguration call to give you a heads up. They discuss the logistics of what you can expect in your awards and what you can expect in your SMDs. And this is a way where you can ask your questions as to how does this look and how will it affect your SMDs in the community. So did everyone receive that invite from me?
Yes. If you can also just, I think all of the commissioners in Ward 1 received it. If you can add a little bit, I was a little confused when I first got it.
Okay.
So you can reply to it just to add a little bit more context as to what the call is, but that's super helpful laying it out now. So thank you for that.
No problem. And I apologize for the vagueness of it. As soon as I get stuff, a lot of times it'd be so much coming. I'm gonna make sure that I get it out, but I will make sure I put some context behind it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I see one hand up. Patrick Nelson. Karen, can you go ahead and promote Patrick? Hello, Mr. Nelson.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair Harris. I just wanted to follow up on what was just talked about with the fire. Since there are some of us who are not in 1B anymore that still participate in these meetings, is there some way that you guys can put that information on the website since I don't live in any of your SMDs, so I'm not going to get any of that information. I would like to take my contacts and see what I can do to help these people. But I need to know exactly what it is and what, the GoFundMe site or whatever it is, and what physical things they would need right away, so I can at least reach out to the people that I know and see what I can do. But obviously, I'm not going to get it from any of you guys because I'm not one of your constituents.
I mean, I still have your email, Patrick, so I can send it to you.
Okay.
But also, I think that's a good idea to put it on the website, if we can. And we're definitely going to include it in our newsletter, and I'll also notify prior now and potentially current chairs of Ward 1 about this to also spread the word within their commissions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest, because I think the abutting ANCs would also be able to reach out and verbalize that, because there's a lot of people that I'm sure, would be willing to even just donate money, but as long as they're knowing what it is specifically that is necessary, I think that would be really helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can, as soon as I get the link, Commissioner/Chair Trindade Duramo, I can send it to the current and former chairs of the Ward 1 commissions. Thank you, Patrick. Okay. I'm not seeing any more hands for community announcements. New business. So I actually have an item for new business. I apologize. This did come through, I believe, today, at least into my email. It is a signed settlement agreement from Good Smoke, which is in my SMD. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up. We had discussed this, just as a reminder for the returning commissioners and new commissioners. We had discussed this at our December meeting. However, and wanting to figure out some sort of settlement agreement with this cannabis medical marijuana establishment. However, we had missed the deadlines for protest. However, I think Commissioner Fields was able to engage with the owners of Good Smoke, and they signed a settlement agreement. I apologize. I'm trying to talk and find the settlement agreement at the same time. Thank you to Commissioner Holden who sent it to me. Give me 1 second as I find this. Yes, it was sent 13 hours ago. I apologize that again, this is coming up. But I do want, we do need to vote on this. Hold on. Sorry. And Commissioner Kinsick, I see your hand up. Do you have question, and then I can bring this up while you ask that question?
Well, yeah, real quick, Chair. I think that I know that people don't want to hear about this, but it's important. I think you did a great job with the business cards. Now that we've established the executive team, I think between you and now Treasurer Lemon Strauss, we can move on that. You did a great job with that. So if we can get that in production. Also, the 30K on what we're doing and what we've done with ABCA in the past with the attorney fees. I don't know what's left on that, but it's something that we do want to think about, or at least by the next meeting. So we have that attorney, backing to help whoever chairs that committee. And that's it. I appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt. And Jerry, my thoughts and prayers are with your family and everyone in that building. That's just horrific. And I'm really, really genuinely sorry to hear that. It's very sad. In any way I can help, I will help. Thank you.
Really quickly, again, I'm pulling this up. I have it up, I swear. For business cards, we've already voted on the budget, so it's just a matter of, and I'm happy to help Commissioner Fay, of getting everyone's information, putting them on the cards. I have been ANC 1B's design intern because I know how to use Photoshop, all of that. So happy to help with that. I just need reminders to do that. So we will get everybody's information or collect everybody's information, but we already voted on it. So we're good to go in there. In terms of the attorney, I believe last time I checked, and this was probably in November, and I don't believe we utilized her. I think there was still $21,000 left in the, I don't know what the technical name is.
Yeah, retainer. Yeah.
Retainer, thank you.
Yeah.
Retainer. So we're okay. We're good. I don't think we need to vote on anything further to increase that.
I put it in the commissioner chat, but I took a note to talk to Santiago about it on Saturday in my conversation with him. So I'll get up to speed on exactly how we monitor that retainer, what the sort of governance process is for that, and to make sure that, and if helpful, especially with the committee that handles it, we could do a monthly just sort of update on, hey, here's where we're at on drawing that down.
Yeah, she would often send the kind of invoice, I think, to Commissioner Lakatos and myself. But the invoice it wasn't really like an invoice because it was like we already like paid for this. So, but just knowing kind of the amount where we're at, I think is helpful. Okay, sorry, I'm pulling up the settlement agreement. Give me 1 second. Okay. So the settlement agreement is pretty standard. We will change the date of this. There's nothing really outstanding. I believe this was the same agreement that Firehouse followed that we did vote on. Again, it's not anything, I think, out of the ordinary of what I'm seeing. And again, this is for a medical marijuana establishment. Apologies, Commissioner Kinsick. Again, not calling you out. I just saw you put your glasses on. So if I need to slow down, let me know. But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty standard. I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary. The only thing that I did see that might get taken out by ABCA is participation in ANC meetings. They might strike that. I think it's nice, and if they can, great. But that's not something we can legally require of them. So I would imagine that APCA is going to strike this, but if it goes through, and it's legally binding. So they've already signed it. Actually, we don't need to change that. It's in my SMD. So typically and this is just for the new commissioners, typically a settlement agreement is signed by the chair of the commission and the commissioner who represents the SMD where the establishment is. Are there any questions on this?
I just appreciate blowing up my new readers. I just got the.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just saw you put it on here on my screen. So I was like, oh wait, let me make sure I slow down.
I made it to 46, so I mean, they're just starting to go now.
Sorry, Commissioner Kinsey, I really didn't mean to call you out, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going too fast. I'm not seeing any other hands, so I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to raise the motion. I move that the full ANC support the settlement agreement for Good Smoke at 1843 14th Street. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
I sent it to you 13 hours ago.
Thank you, Commissioner Holden. I appreciate it. Discussion. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, commissioners. And thank you again, Commissioner Holden, for passing it over. If you talk to Commissioner Fields, thank her for getting this through as well. So we will sign this and get it transmitted to ABCA. Are there any other new business items? Hearing none. Are there any other further comments? Hearing none, with that, I adjourn the meeting at 9:22 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Congrats to the new executive officers and congrats to the new commissioners. You made it through your first meeting.
Thanks.
Thanks.